I would like to welcome you to the 2021 LEA Federal Program Monitoring Training webinar. My name is Dr. Monique Moten, and I'm the administrator in the Title I Monitoring and Support Office. I'm pleased to be joined by a fellow colleague in our office, Olawale Olukoya. Olawale?
Yes, Monique, thank you. Welcome to the webinar for NorD, known as Title I Part D. My name is Olawale Olukoya. I work in Title I Monitoring Support Unit. I'm a reviewer for Region 11, which is Los Angeles County.
Thank you, Olawale. I'm so pleased that you're able to join us on this presentation today.
Thank you.
As Olawale indicated, we are from the Title I Monitoring and Support Office, otherwise referred to as TIMSO. We have a new division director. Her name is Dr. Lindsay Tornatore. We have a new division name. We were formerly the Improvement and Accountability Division. We are now the Student Achievement and Support Division, otherwise known as SASD. Of course, we're from the California Department of Education, and our webinar today will focus on neglected, delinquent, or at-risk youth, otherwise referred to as NorD. Before we begin the presentation, I wanted to acknowledge the unprecedented events of COVID and the impact that it has had on us locally, as a state, and as a nation. So as we begin the fall term, returning back to school, please know that me and my office, and I know Dr. Tornatore would also say for our division, our goal is to support you and provide you with the tools that you need in order to walk through this monitoring season and provide the support to ensure that you're operating the programs in the best way that meets the needs of your students, your staff, and your community. I would like to identify the LEAs that are going to receive an NorD review. They are Alameda, COE, Los Angeles, COE, Los Angeles, USD, Orange, COE, Santa Cruz, COE, Sonoma, COE, and Tulare, COE. Olawale and I are providing you with the training today. However, there will be a new consultant that will take over the NorD monitoring program and all related functions. Her name is Dr. Sherry Davis. Her contact information is at the end of our presentation, as well as the contact info for our staff. Olawale and myself and our team will provide support to Dr. Davis as necessary to ensure that your NorD reviews go in a organized and a transit way. So again, we will provide the information for Dr. Davis at the end of this presentation. Slide 3 is to discuss the presentation outcomes. Olawale and I are hoping by your viewing this presentation that you will have a better understanding and knowledge of the overview of the FPM process, the Federal Program Monitoring process, how to meet the NorD item requirements, reviewing of the NorD instrument, and how to prepare for a successful FPM NorD review. Our office has a discussion. What does the term successful mean? And believe you me, we don't want you to have a lot of findings. But we also recognize at times during the reviews, there may be an item that cannot be resolved in 30, 40 days. And in that instance, we will work with you to help you through that process in order to meet the requirements. Slide 4 provides you with 2 links of information that we will use during today's session. The first one would be the NRD instrument. If you would like to pull out your instrument just to review it as we proceed, this is the instrument that Olawale, and it will be Sherry in this instance, that we use in order to evaluate whether you meet requirements. And the NRD instrument is comprised of 10 items. And you will see the actual name of the item, NRD2, what it covers, each of the sub-items, in this instance, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. You must address each of those sub-items in order to meet requirements for NRD2. And you will find as you proceed down the instrument, we also, going a little quickly here, you will see evidence that's listed. Here we go. The evidence requests which follow each of the sub-items. So in the instance of 2.0, it tells you the evidence that you can submit and upload to the California Monitoring Tool, or CMT, in order to meet the requirements. So this is the instrument that we will use in evaluating this, and we would welcome you to use this instrument when you're looking for evidence in order to upload to meet those requirements. The second item that's on that link is to the U.S. Department of Education, and that link will provide you with information as far as the federal requirements, etc., that you may use, and it just gives you the official U.S. Department of Ed. So please feel free to refer to that document as you proceed. Slide 5 would give you the purpose of these funds. The purpose of Title I Part D is to improve the educational services for children and youth in local, tribal, and state institutions for neglected or delinquent children and youth, so that such children and youth have the opportunity to meet the same challenging state academic content standards that all children in the state are expected to meet. Slide 6 continues the purpose of Title I Part D. It states, it is to provide such children and youth with the services needed to make a successful transition from institutionalization to further schooling or employment. It is also designed to prevent at-risk youth from dropping out of school and to provide dropouts and children and youth returning from correctional facilities or institutions for neglected or delinquent children and youth with a support system to ensure their continued education and the involvement of their families and communities. Slide 7 continues with the purpose of Title I Part D. It is to provide activities to facilitate the transition of youth from correctional facilities to further education or employment. Finally, it is to operate programs in local schools for youth returning from those facilities, correctional facilities, and programs which may serve at-risk youth. Slide 8 begins the actual review of each of the 10 items within the NRD instrument. NRD 1 involves parent involvement. This item requires that the LEA upload evidence that the correctional facility involves parents in efforts to improve the educational achievement of their children and to prevent further involvement of their children in delinquent activities. For the purpose of this instrument and our presentation, it's important that we define the term correctional facility. A correctional facility is defined as a facility in which persons are confined as a result of a conviction for a criminal offense, including persons under 21 years of age. Evidence that may be uploaded to meet NorD 1 may include a description and records of events, techniques, and strategies that are offered to parents to build parent capacity. The term also may be used to include a local public or private institution and the community day program or school not operated by the state that serves delinquent children and youth. And this an example of this may be a private institution that provides these services as well. As we move to slide 10, it discusses NorD 2, coordination with students homeschool. The LEA must upload evidence that reflects the correctional facility ensures, where feasible, that educational programs in the correctional facility are coordinated with the student's homeschool, especially a student with an individualized education program or an IEP. The correctional facility must notify the local school if the child or youth is identified as needing special education services. Slide 11 continues with the discussion of the requirements for NorD 2. The correctional facility, to the extent possible, uses technology to assist in coordinating educational programs between the correctional facility and the community school. And also, lastly, for this item, upon the child's or youth's entry into the correctional facility, work with the child or youth's family members and the local educational agency, or LEA, to ensure that the relevant and appropriate academic records and plans are shared jointly between the correctional facility and the LEA. Evidence that may be uploaded to meet this item, NorD 2, may include any documentation that demonstrates coordination between the correctional facility, the home school, and the child or youth's family members. Communications such as IEP meetings and notes and initial identification of the child or youth for special educational services. So anything that takes place between the facility, the homeschool, and the child or youth's family members may be uploaded to meet the requirements for NorD 2. Slide 12 identifies NorD 3, which are the notices and parents' primary language. This item is a requirement when 15% or more of students enrolled in a public school speak a single primary language other than English, as determined by language census data from the preceding year. All notices, reports, statements, and records are sent to the parent or guardian of such students shall be included and shall be written in English and the primary language. We understand that depending on where you are in the state of California, you have more diverse needs of your students and families. So in Southern California, you may have 3 or 4 different languages that meet the 15% threshold. While we require that you provide all notices in those languages, for the purposes of the review, we are requiring 2 examples in English, 1 in English, 1 in the languages per site being monitored. So we don't want several. We would just want 1 or 2 in English at the district and whatever language exceeds your 15%, and then 1 or 2 per site of sampled schools. So we would not want you to upload information for this or any other item except for the schools that are going to be monitored for the review. Olawale will discuss the next slide.
Thank you, Monique. Before I present on equipment inventory, I would like to share the following best practices for a successful review. As soon as you know who your reviewer is, initiate communication and communicate often with your reviewer via CMT comments, phone, or email. Regularly check activity, comments, and resources. Upload and certify documentation in a timely manner to allow ample time for review and follow-up of documents. And always remember to delegate where possible. Involve your fiscal and business staff. Moving on to slide 13. For all categorical programs, the agency maintains a historical inventory record for each piece of equipment with an acquisition cost of $500 or more per unit that is purchased with Title I Part D. Again, $500 or more. Any equipment that is less than $500 should not be part of this review, should not be part of what you should be submitting for as the evidence for this item. But I would like to remind you, first of all, that if you're not using Title I Part D funds to purchase any type of equipment, this item will not apply to you. Therefore, it will not be monitored by the reviewer. Just to keep that in mind. Next slide. The inventory records must demonstrate the following elements when submitting this as part of the evidence. Type/description, model name, serial identification number, which you can find either behind the equipment, on the side of the equipment, but they're always there. The funding source, which would be 3025 for Title I Part D, and the federal award identification number. Your business office should be able to help identify that number for you. Who holds the title, the acquisition date, original cost. This is the second slide of the required components of the inventory record. Percentage of federal participation, location, use, and current condition. Going back to location, this is an area where we have a lot of findings. And that's because the district or the site was unable to properly identify where that particular equipment could be located at. If you have an equipment that is purchased with Title I Part D funds, make sure you are specific when it comes to where that item could be located at. Use and current condition, transfer, replacement, or disposition of obsolete or usable or unusable equipment. Any ultimate disposition data, including the date of disposal and sale price or method used to determine current fair market value. Slide 16. Capital expenditures for special purpose equipment are allowable as direct cost, provided that items with a unit cost of $5,000 or more have the prior written approval of the federal awarding agency, which would be California Department of Education. This is not a common request, but $5,000 is a lot of money. So we normally get a request from large size district asking to use Title I funds to purchase equipment. We do have, we have resources on the CD website for the approval process. If you need to learn more about capital expenditures. Disposition of equipment purchased with Title I funds with a fair market value in excess of $5,000 may be retained, sold, or disposed with written approval of the federal awarding agency. Slide 17. Disposition of equipment with a current fair market value of $5,000 or less may be retained, sold, or otherwise disposed of with no further obligation to the state education agency. Basically, you do not need to tell us how that item was disposed because it's less than $5,000. The LEA must conduct a physical inventory of the property and the results reconciled with the property records at least once every 2 years. This is another common finding for us. Well, districts are, I'm not sure if districts realize, how valuable this part of the equipment inventory is. Here is the benefit of conducting physical inventory. You will be able to track your equipment. You will be able to tell if some of your equipment are missing, stolen, misplaced. So by conducting inventory check every 2 years, really comes with a lot of benefits. So the next slide will be discussed by Monique.
Thank you, Olawale.
Thank you.
Slide 18 discusses NorD 5, which are the funds for Title I Part D activities. The LEA must ensure that costs charged to the programs under Title I are reasonable, necessary, and allocable. The LEA must demonstrate that they use Title I Part D for any of the following activities: transition of students from correctional facilities to the school environment in order to complete their education. Dropout prevention programs that serve at-risk children and youth. Slide 19 continues the activities that you may fund for Title I Part D. Coordination of health and social services. Special programs to meet the unique academic needs of our participants. Assistance in securing student loans or grants for post-secondary education. Mentoring and peer mediation programs. Examples of evidence that may be uploaded for this item, NorD 5, include a detailed general ledger for the specific resource, the date, description, vendor name, and total expenditures within a line item. Position control reports. So this would be a report of employees that are planned to be paid in part or whole with federal funding, in this case, Title I Part D. And also you may include a table of staff funded at the LEA or reviewed sample schools that are funded all or in part with Title I Part D. You would include the full name of the individual, their position or title, their funding source, percentage of time if it is a multi-funded position with this and other funding sources, so that we may provide additional support. and also, as applicable, time and effort. Olawale is going to discuss that on the next slide. Olawale?
Thank you, Monique. Again, if you're not using Title One Part D to pay any of your staff, classified and certificated, this item will not be applicable to you. Therefore, it will not be monitored. Also, if we have a fiscal monitor on the same review, this item will automatically be deferred to fiscal monitor so that you will not be reviewed for the same item twice. The LEA must properly charge and document allowable salaries and wages that are reasonable and necessary in accordance with applicable Title I Part D program requirements and federal accounting requirements. Basically, it is saying all employees charged to federal grants must maintain time and effort reporting. It does not matter if it is NorD funding or title funding or Perkins or formula or discretionary. Any employee funded with federal grants must document the time they spend working on the grant's objectives to demonstrate that the amount budgeted and claimed is accurate. If a subrecipient, which is the LEA, is receiving a federal grant through the California Department of Education, then employees whose costs are claimed must be maintaining time and effort records. Time and effort records are usually housed or kept by the subrecipient or the LEA. This should not be submitted to the awarding agency. Time and effort records become subject to review during monitoring, NorD compliance, or other situations that require the LEA to provide evidence that time funded by the federal grant was spent working towards the grant's objectives. So where is this requirement established? Time and effort reporting requirements are part of allowable costs as defined by the U.S. Office of Management Budgets, which is known as OMB. OMB circulars are applied to all federal grants, contracts, and cooperative agreements. So one of the selected items of allowable costs is salaries and fringe benefits. In general, salaries and wages of employees who work on federal funded programs like NorD may be paid with federal funds as long as they are working on the grant's objectives and appropriate time and effort records are maintained. So we will be looking at the following evidence, which will include your payroll register. This is housed by your business or fiscal office. General ledger. This is also handled by your business office. Your general ledger should only include resource code 3025, which is the funding source for Title I Part D. We do not need your entire district general ledger. We only need the general ledger specifically for this program, which is Title I Part D, resource code 3025. Position control report, that should contain the name of the staff that are paid out of Title I, be specific, if they're full-time or half-time, The funding sources, if they are multi-funded or if they're primarily working entirely on NOD activities. We will also be looking at the district or the LEA time accounting policies and procedures. You should have one in place that spell out how what protocol your accounting office is practicing. We will also be looking at time accounting documents such as timesheets, PARs, and semi-annual certifications. PARs and semi-annual certifications are two common types of required time and effort records. Let's start with general semi-annual certifications. Semi-annual certification only applies to an individual who has a single cost objective, has a position that is dedicated to a singular purpose. For example, if you only working on Title I Part D program related activities, that would be considered a singular purpose. Again, let's use a special education teacher is considered to have a single cost objective because the teacher works only with special education. An individual who has a single cost objective will complete a semi-annual certifications. A semi-annual certification is a sign-off twice a year, usually every 6 months by the employees or supervisor with first-hand knowledge of the employee's work. A semi-annual certification should identify employee's name, the federal program, employee's position, reporting period, single cost objective. The next common time and effort is PARs, which is used to account for multiple cost objectives. So what's PARs? PARs is an individual who serves different student populations, needs to complete monthly personnel activity reports, often referred to as PARs. PARs need to be completed at least monthly. After the work has been completed, the PAR must reflect the individual's total work time and identify the portion of time spent on the federal project, which would be Title I Part D in this situation. The PAR must be signed by the employee. The PAR must be supported with documentation of actual effort, not estimates. Supporting documentation could be a work calendar, work product, time log, or class schedule. The employee who signs off on the PAR must have supporting documentation for the time reported. So relying on time estimates identified in the grant budget rather than the actual time recorded through the work calendar or class schedule will not result in a monitoring finding of unallowable cost. So for example, a school psychologist may be an individual who needs to complete PARs instead of a semi-annual certification. If the school psychologist is funded through Title I Part D, but is also funded locally to work with students who are not classified as NorD, in this situation, she has multiple cost objectives because she works with both NorD and non-NorD students. Her monthly PERS will document 100% of her work schedule and identify the amount of time she spends working only with NorD students and time working on non-federal activities, which may include state categorical time and NorD. As is in the case with semi-annual certification, there's no standard format used for PARs. The required information that must be on PARS is employee's name, employee's position, federal programs like CFDA number, reporting period, 100% of work activities, and employee's signature. PARS for employees working on multiple cost objectives must follow these standards. After the fact record, the PAR must be created after the work has been executed. Projection of how an employee is expected to work or position descriptions will not be sufficient. Total activity. The PAR must account for the total for which each employee is compensated, including part-time schedule or overtime. Monthly. The PAR must be prepared at least monthly and must coincide with one or more pay periods and signed and dated. The PAR must be signed and dated by the employee. Unlike semi-annual certification, signature of a supervisor alone will not be sufficient. However, the supervisor could sign in addition to the employee. If you're interested in an example of PARS or semi-annual certification, you can go onto a CDE website and pull up our California School Accounting Manual, Procedure 905, and I have plenty of samples for PARS and semi-annual certification. The next slide would be discussed by Monique.
Thank you, Olawale.
Thank you.
Slide 21 refers to NorD 7, which is the LEA Program Evaluation. Educational programs of the correctional facility help students meet the state academic content standards. So we're looking to see evidence that demonstrates at least once every 3 years, the agency evaluates the NorD program, disaggregating data by gender, race, ethnicity, and age to determine the program's impact on the ability of the participants to maintain and improve educational achievement. Slide 22 continues with program evaluation. To complete secondary school requirements and the ability to obtain employment. To accrue credits toward promotion and graduation. To make the transition to a regular program or other education program. To participate in post-secondary education and job training programs as appropriate. Slide 23 continues LEA Program Evaluation for NorD 7. The agency must be able to demonstrate the use of multiple and appropriate measures of student progress in evaluating NorD programs. The agency must submit an evaluation results to the CDE. And finally, you need to demonstrate that you've used the results of those evaluations to improve programs. Examples of evidence that you may upload to address NorD 7 may include an LEA program evaluation to assess and determine the effectiveness of the funds of the program that is funded specifically by Title I, Part D. Ensure that your discussion and your evaluation includes the disaggregation of data as it relates to age, ethnicity, race, language, gender, etc. And also ensure that your evaluation includes the specific modifications that the evaluation may reveal, and how were you able to change as a result of this evaluation. Slide 24 discusses NorD 8, which is staffing. The correctional facility shall work to ensure that it is staffed with teachers and other qualified staff who are trained to work with children with disabilities. Evidence that may be uploaded to meet NRD 8 include listing of the qualifications for staff who work with students with disabilities. Included in that evidence, please note any special educational training, certification that qualifies teachers or other staff to work with students with disabilities. Slide 25 discusses NRD 9, which is Transitional Assistance. The correctional facility must be able to demonstrate that it provides transitional assistance, including family services, counseling, drug and alcohol abuse prevention, tutoring, and family counseling to help the child stay in school. Slide 26 continues NRD 9 transitional assistance requirements. The correctional facility shall consult with the LEA for a period that's jointly determined necessary by the correctional facility and the LEA upon discharge from that facility to coordinate those educational services. Evidence that may be uploaded to meet NRD 9 may include documentation indicating specific programs or services that were provided as transitional assistance to the student and or child or youth's family members. And it also may include job descriptions of specific staff or an MOU. You could use an MOU with other agencies that you work with in order to provide the transition assistance. Slide 27 is the last item in the NRD instrument, NRD 10, and this is entitled Support Programs. The correctional facility shall provide support programs that encourage children and youth who have dropped out of school to re-enter school once their term at the correctional facility has been completed, or provide such children and youth with the skills needed to gain employment or seek a high school diploma or its equivalent. Slide 28 continues with the requirements for NRD 10. If appropriate, the correctional facilities shall work with local businesses to develop training, curriculum-based youth entrepreneurship, education, and mentoring programs for children and youth. Evidence that may be uploaded to meet this requirement may include description of those services that address how students may re-enter work or gain employment. Also in this item, you may upload job descriptions or a MOU that supports school reentry and or to gain employment. Slide 29 is a summary. Olawale discussed many of these, if not all of these, in his presentation earlier in the webinar. It's important, one, to involve all relevant County Office of Education and school staff in this review as appropriate. Review the specific legal requirements of each NRD item. Remember, the instrument is what we use, what we will use in the evaluation of your review to determine if you meet compliance or you meet requirements. Determine which NRD items are applicable and not applicable to your agency and schools. As Olawale indicated earlier in the previous slide, if it does not pertain to you or the site, please post a CMT comment at the item level why you would not need to be monitored for that item. Your reviewer will review the evidence, and if there are any questions, you'll have a discussion, and if it is agreed, that item will be marked not monitored. Fortunately, we can't leave any items blank because we are reviewed by U.S. Department of Ed to ensure that we're providing support to each of you in the correct way. Please take action to address legal requirements. Collect electronic forms of all associated and required documents. Review collected documents to confirm whether or not all NRD requirements are met. Slide 30 talks and discusses uploading and managing documents in CDE monitoring tool, which is CMT. Provide specific titles and descriptions for each document uploaded to CMT. And what is helpful for us as reviewers is to identify which site your documents are referring to. That will help us to identify, provide timely feedback when we know what site you're uploading evidence to meet. And that will avoid a lot of back and forth with CMT comments in order to gain clarification on which item and which school site you are uploading evidence. Upload documents at least 30 days prior to the FPM review. If possible, we've already been hearing from districts who are going to be monitored in September, October, and November. So please feel free to upload documents and email your respective reviewer to let he or she know that there is evidence ready to review. At this time, CMT does not notify us when you upload documentation. And lastly, please respond to the NRD reviewer's requests for additional documentation. These suggestions that Alawali and I have noted are in an effort to avoid possible findings because there's enough time between the pre-review, during the review, to avoid any findings. Perhaps you could upload the evidence within that time period. But if you're waiting until the week of the review or during that review, there may not be enough time to be able to review the amount of evidence you have and or provide you timely feedback on how to prevent a finding. Slide 31, I introduced you to Dr. Sherry Davis at the beginning of this webinar. Dr. Davis will be the program contact for all things NRD. We stand ready to support Dr. Davis with any questions. I know LAUSD and LACO are being monitored, and Alawali is the presenter on this, as well as the other COEs that have been identified. We stand there to provide assistance to her as needed and any guidance. You have Dr. Davis's phone number and her email address on slide 31. Slide 32 provides you with the contact information for myself and for our members of TIMSO. You will see my name listed a couple times within this presentation. We currently are recruiting for regions 2 and 4. I will be the contact person. You see my email address. Chiming Yang, I know we have folks from Orange County. He has region 9. Girk Jagpal has regions 1 and 8. Slide 33 continues the office contacts. Hamed Razawi has region 10. I will be the contact for any questions and reviews for regions 5 and 6. Linda Moscatelli is region 7. I see that Tulare is going to be monitored for NRD. Alawali, the one and only, has region 11. And I know you have his contact information, but it's provided there. And all consultants are responsible for reviewing region 3. Now, Sacramento County, Yolo, Placer, El Dorado, any of the areas that are close to the Sacramento region. Slide 34. If you have any questions that Alawali and I have discussed, or maybe there's some questions after you've reviewed this video, this webinar, you would like to bring forward, please bring any questions or concerns regarding the neglected, delinquent, or at use program and or monitoring. We will be there live in a virtual question and answer discussion. Feel free to email your questions to the TIMSO at cde.ca.gov. That mailbox is monitored on a regular basis. That information will be pulled, and we will actually be live Friday, July 31st from 12:20 to 1:40. If that time does not work for you, you may always email us at any time you have questions. I would like to thank you. I know I speak for Alawali and our whole team. We'd like to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to view this webinar. We look forward to working with you in the upcoming review cycle. And thank you again for your time.